Fishing a hollow-bodied frog is something that's gotten very popular in the last 5 to 10 years. It allows you to fish a bait where we really didn't have something to fish in those areas before. The Terminator Walking Frog is a great choice because of its shape. It's a little bit bigger bodied frog than a lot of the ones on the market, so it's going to target a little bit bigger fish. Also, how easy this bait walks. Almost anybody can throw this frog out and get it to walk pretty quick. So, as far as conditions, water temperature, those type of things, I like for it to be warmer water. I've never threw a frog in water, I'm going to say less than 60 degrees. Usually from the time the fish start spawning, from then through the summer, through the fall, until the water really gets cold again, that's frog fishing time for me. Due to its natural action, it's something that's not got a lot of noise and commotion. That's why you don't want to fish a frog in extremely heavy chop. It's just simply going to get lost. Those fish aren't going to know where it is. I like fishing a frog actually up in the day, probably more so than I do in the morning. In the morning, a lot of times, those fish are kind of still lethargic a little bit. They're really not chasing stuff real early in the morning. But once that sun gets high, it creates those shadows. That's when I'm going to pick up a frog, and that's when I'm going to catch some big bass on it. Some of the ideal cover that comes to mind for me fishing a frog is any kind of overhanging tree, something that I can skip that bait up underneath where a fish is potentially going to be sitting. Those are ideal places, as well as grass. That is of course a great place to fish it, but don't limit yourself to only fishing a frog in or around grass. It's extremely effective around bushes, around any type of heavy cover, as well as even open water, boat docks, those type of things as well. So just don't limit yourself to only fishing around grass. You're going to miss out on a lot of great opportunities if you do. It'll really surprise you how effective a frog can be when other topwater baits aren't. For me, a lot of my technique and the way I'm going to be fishing this frog is skipping that bait into a strike zone. Skipping that bait in there a lot of times is going to draw that bass's attention and get him to look for it. And then once it hits the water, short twitches of the rod tip will really make that bait walk almost in place. It's not making very much forward travel with a lot of side-to-side commotion, spraying some water up in the air a little bit, and you can see just how much that bait's moving back and forth, side to side. That's what's making this frog extremely effective. Some of the other techniques you can do with it, if the fish are in extremely clear water and you're needing to fish that bait a little bit faster, a lot of times I'll give it 3 or 4 short twitches and then a pause, where I am trying to move that bait a couple feet at a time before stopping it. If the fish are following it, sometimes you can stop that bait, and if you watch close, those legs just open up and they move a lot even after that bait has come to a rest. That can be extremely effective technique if those fish are coming up under the bait, just kind of hanging there for a second. Pause that bait, allow those legs to open up, and that may be the thing that trips their trigger. The reason every angler should have a Terminator Walking Frog in their arsenal is to fit all of those heavy cover situations where you need a bait that's going to walk, it's going to stay in the strike zone, and it's going to catch fish where you've not been able to fish a bait before. So you can keep it in the strike zone and make them bite it.